Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really digging into a specific set of texts. Think Genesis, Romans, 1 Enoch, looking at where sin and death actually come from. And our goal here isn't the usual Sunday school lesson. We want to get past that and see how these sources define sin and death. Not just as, bad choices, but as active, reigning, cosmic powers. So to set the stage, we have to remember the beginning. Genesis 1.31, very good. Everything in harmony, shalom. Humanity gets delegated authority, dominion, right?
Yeah.
And access to sustained life via the tree of life. A perfect setup.
It really was. But what's crucial, and often missed, is that the sources point to two distinct events, two incursions, that shifted things from good to corrupt. If you only focus on one, you don't get the whole story. The first one, well, that's the one everyone knows. The Adamic transgression happened right here, terrestrial.
Right.
Exactly. Violating that specific command in Genesis 2, and the immediate result, mortality, is presented as a judicial sentence. Young's literal translation is stark. Dying thou dost die. Bang.
Creates that immediate fear, the alienation we see in Genesis 3.
Precisely. That's the foundational rupture on the human level.
Yeah.
Introduced mortality.
Okay, so that makes us mortal. But you mentioned two incursions. This is where it gets, really fascinating, isn't it? There's this second event, something Genesis maybe hints at, but other texts really blow open.
That's the celestial rebellion.
Yeah.
And 1 Enoch is absolutely key here. You have the Watchers, these celestial beings descending. And it's not just about cosmic miscegenation, though. That's part of it.
Right.
They actively contaminate the earth. They teach forbidden, destructive knowledge. Think weapon-making, sorcery, divination, things humans weren't meant to have.
Whoa, okay, so wait. The first fall, Adam's, makes us subject to death, makes us mortal. And the second fall, the Watchers, it basically floods our now mortal world with active malice. Because 1 Enoch says their offspring, the giants, when they die, their spirits become evil spirits.
Exactly right. Spirits that remain specifically to afflict, oppress, destroy. So Adam's fall opened the door to death. As a principle, you could say. The Watchers' fall let loose the agents of corruption and destruction into that vulnerable world.
So now we're dealing with two active reigning powers.
Correct. Mortality from Adam, active malevolence from the Watchers' fallout.
Okay, let's unpack what that means for us, for the human condition described in these texts. If that's the backstory, how do they define the state we're actually in?
Well, sin often presented singular, like the sin, especially in Paul. Romans 5, for instance, it's framed as an active power. Its fundamental nature, 1 John, defines it pretty clearly. Lawlessness, a complete deviation from the divine order.
So sin is like the underlying misalignment, the systemic brokenness.
You could put it that way. And death. Death is its consequence, but also more than that. It's depicted as a reigning tyrant.
A tyrant?
Yeah, the Greek verb Paul uses repeatedly in Romans 5 is abasileusin, means reigned. Death reigned like a king. It's an inescapable dominion.
And this is critical. The texts seem very clear that we inherit this state of bondage to death, right? Not necessarily guilt for what Adam specifically did.
Absolutely crucial distinction. Romans 5.14 is the proof text.
Yeah.
Death reigned from Adam to Moses, even over them who had not sinned after the likeness of Adam's transgression. You're born into the prison, essentially. You inherit the kingdom ruled by death, not the specific crime that opened the gates.
That reframes everything. So if that's the problem, this dual invasion leading to bondage under sin and the tyrant death, what about the solution? Christ is presented as the second Adam. How does that work?
It's presented as a beautifully symmetrical reversal. Romans 5, again, lays it out. Adam's one act of disobedience led to condemnation and the reign of death. Christ's one act of obedience brings justification and the reign of life.
Obedience answers disobedience.
Exactly. But it's not just a legal adjustment like paying a fine. The texts, especially Hebrews, frame it as cosmic warfare.
Right, defeating the tyrant.
Precisely. Hebrews 2 says Christ came to paralyze him that has the dominion of death, that is, the adversary. It's about liberation from this reigning power, breaking the bondage. The result isn't just forgiveness, it's what Paul calls the new creation, a fundamental ontological shift.
Much bigger, much more dramatic than just, wiping a slate clean. It's regime change.
It really is cosmic regime change.
Okay, so these sources give us a really potent framework. It makes you think differently about the whole thing. So here's something for you to chew on, building on all this. When you encounter any explanation of sin and salvation, ask yourself this: does it frame the problem primarily as a legal debt needing a pardon? Or does it correctly identify the core enemy as the personified reigning power of death, requiring not just a pardon, but a full-scale cosmic liberation? Pondering that difference, well, that might just change how you read everything.